If you want to become successful, you have to learn how to commit, and this is my 100th episode, so I'm going to share with you everything that I have learned over the past year in terms of how it is that I committed to this goal of mine and why we're going to celebrate it. So a little bit over a year ago, I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but one of the things that I've heard so much is that people start, they don't end up getting traction, and therefore they end up quitting. And I didn't want to become a quitter. I didn't want to be able to mess myself up. They waste so much time, at least in the beginning, and really just do it for naught. And what's interesting is that in the beginning, I was so obsessed with subscribers and view count. And when you listen to all the quote-unquote gurus out there who are telling you about YouTube and how it is that you need to be moving forward, is that you can't be focusing on the results. You just have to be focusing on the process. So I decided to take their advice and I listened to them. And here we are, episode 100. The first thing that we have to understand when it comes to commitment is that with most things in life, when you commit to it, you can commit to it for a specific amount of time. And this is something that I tell all my clients when I work with them, that let's start small. And if we see that things are going well, then we'll be able to commit for a longer time. You see, for so many of us, there are certain things that we want to be doing. We get excited, but then once we get into it, we didn't really understand and recognize what it is that we got ourselves into. And even though we might know it might be difficult, we know it might be tough, but at the end of the day, we want to be able to succeed at that thing. So if we can look to just start to commit to ourselves just for a little bit, then we can look to commit for the long run. And that's something that I decided with my channel. I decided that I was going to commit to only 20 episodes in the beginning and then build from there. And after I started to get momentum, I decided let me do 100, because I knew once I do 100, then I'll be able to look back and see what feedback it is that I was going to be able to understand and learn from. It would also give me a pretty big impetus to be able to make sure that I'm not focusing on the results, that I'm just focusing on what is I need to be doing every single time I press record. So understanding when you are starting to commit, recognize that you can commit to a certain time. But that brings me to my second point, because we have to understand that when we commit, we have to understand what commitment really is. You see, commitment is we commit until period, and that's it. So if you're saying you're going to do something for a month, for a week, for 2 days, we have to do it regardless of the way that we're feeling. You see, a lot of times when we start with our commitments, we're so excited, we have so much energy, but then throughout our time, it ends up going lower and lower and lower. And a lot of times we can't even expect what's going to happen. So if we can start to tell ourselves, hey, I'm going to commit until X, Y, and Z, then all of a sudden we have a different plan set in place. And it's one of the biggest reasons why I tell people who want to start working out that they shouldn't commit to working out forever. They should commit to a specific amount of time, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, a month. But when you commit to that time, and we're not going to just jump into commitment, we're actually going to think about it before we commit to it, understand that once we commit to it, we have to do it for a specific amount of time, no matter what, right? Whether we're tired, whether we're not tired, whatever is going on, we have to make sure that we are going to do it. And that brings me to my third point, where we should actually think about something before we just start committing to it. You see, I think one of the biggest problems that happens nowadays with people why they can't commit is because they overcommit to so many different things. They tell themselves they're going to do something and then they fail, and then they just feel bad about themselves, and they do it again and they commit and they get excited and then they fail, and then they just keep beating themselves up. But we have to realize that if we want to stay committed to something, we have to build the resilience of being a person who can commit. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you a tip that you can start to use to start to train yourself to commit to those types of things. But recognizing that if we want to be able to be that type of person, we have to stay committed. And the way we're going to stay committed is that we actually have to think about what is we're going to be doing. And that's why when I get excited about something, I don't commit to it right away. I give myself about 3 days to just think it over and really get excited. And it recently just happened to me. There was a specific program that I wanted to start, and I was so pumped up and I was so juiced about it. But after a couple of days, I started thinking about it and I realized that, you know what, I'm not going to really be so interested in that thing. So whatever it's going to be for you, when you get excited about something and you start to think about that you're going to commit to it, understand that, you know what, it might be a thing that you might need to take off time. And what's interesting is that if you find the things that you do want to stay committed to, you could actually get yourself pumped up and excited to in order to allow yourself to stay committed at that moment. You see, for me, there's this another specific goal that I'm having that is a pretty big goal. I'm going to end up having to wake up a little bit earlier and I'm going to have to go to sleep a little bit earlier, and it's going to be a big commitment. But I've been pumping myself up that at the specific date, I'm going to take that action. And that's something that I'm allowing myself to get ready for. So when the time comes, I'm going to be ready to go. I'm not just going to jump into it with open arms. So set yourself up and recognize that you don't have to commit to everything, and allow yourselves to be prepared for the commitment that you're thinking about. The fourth thing you want to think about is to really reverse engineer your goal. You see, for so many of us, we want to be doing big things. We want to be able to commit to a big goal. And really, the goal comes in really little steps. And if we can start to reverse engineer our goals in order to see what is we need to be committed to, then we have the result. You see, for many of us, we want to be able to see a specific result, and that's why we're committing to specific things in our lives. However, when that does happen, many times we lose track in terms of what's the work that needs to get done. You see, for me, if my goal and my result was to get a certain amount of subscribers, so first of all, I don't have the ability to be able to track that or to allow that really to happen. I can't be a million different people and subscribe to my channel, but what I can do is that I can allow myself to become the type of person or the channel that can get 1 million subscribers. And what I realize is that it's not just about posting videos. I actually have to get better at posting videos. I have to get better at the way I articulate myself and the way I'm able to communicate the ideas that I'm trying to share. For so many people, they just set the wrong goals and they're setting themselves up for failure. So once you're looking to commit to something until period, recognize that we have to set ourselves up in the proper way and allow ourselves to be able to commit to these things. So for me, if it's making sure that I'm able to record my videos every single week and get my editor to edit them, then all of a sudden I had the ability to be able to move forward and to take the action that's necessary. I learned that this is what I need to be doing in order to get the result of having 20 videos, of having 50 videos, having 100 videos. And by doing that, I was able to make that happen. And although there were certain times that I did miss recording my sessions, I was able to make it up because I knew I had a quota that I had to hit. I never wanted to miss a week that I didn't post a video. And honestly, there was 1 or 2 weeks that it did happen. And there were things that I was able to get feedback from in order to make sure that it didn't happen again. We had to keep learning and keep striving. So when things do go wrong, we don't have to freak out. And that takes me to my next point. Things are going to go wrong. There are going to be things that are going to happen and you are going to get knocked off the horse. The question is, what are you going to do about it? How are you responding to that failure, to that adversity when it comes? See, so many people, they fall off and they say, you know what, I'm not going to do it anymore. They had the tub of ice cream that they weren't supposed to have. Or you know what, they ended up not going to the gym that morning. And what's interesting is that they end up thinking about that and realize, you know what, maybe this is not for me. Maybe this is not, I'm not made up for this. But what we have to realize is that's not true. We have that ability. That's normal. That's what happens. The difference is who's going to get back up, who's going to be able to take the action in spite of falling. And that is going to be the trick in terms of who's going to be really committed. Because the goal is not to be 100%. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. Things are going to happen in our lives, things we can control, and a lot of things we might not be able to control. But guess what? If we make sure that we are staying committed and doing things that we want to be doing, then guess what? We're able to commit and stick to our goals. And for my final tip, I want to share with you a way that you can start working on yourself to get yourself to be more committed. You see, for so many of us, we're not able to do certain commitments because we've overcommitted ourselves so much in the past. And what we have to start to do is we have to start to train ourselves. So right now, tell yourself, tomorrow morning, I'm going to commit to making my bed after I wake up. And I know it might sound silly and it might sound like it doesn't really matter, but if you wake up and then you make your bed, that's going to make you feel like $1 million. And on the opposite hand, if you don't make your bed, you're going to feel bad about it. And hopefully we can use these emotions to really help us move forward with what it is that we're going to be doing. So look to commit to small things, easy wins that we can start to get under our belt to be able to build ourselves up to become this type of person who is going to be able to commit to our goals. Stop waiting for perfection. It's not going to happen. Understand that we're going to need resilience in order to be able to move forward. And once we're able to do that, then we have the ability to commit to the specific goals that we want and to allow ourselves to move forward and take advantage of any specific goal that we're looking to commit ourselves to. And if you're the type of person who is constantly just waiting in the background, you're not really that person who is in the front scenes, but you know you have more to be giving, make sure to take a look at this next video where we talk about exactly those points.